Lisa, we've done like 15 episodes and we haven't really acknowledged St. Clair a whole lot.
Oh, well, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. So, speaking of St. Clair, we're getting very close to the beginning of Silence in Your podcast.
Ah, yes, we are.
And
days away.
yes.
Very exciting.
And the closing.
Oh, I get the tie-in now.
Yes, the closing prayer that I'll be using that Lisa selected. Because, like I said, she's the technical director for everything about this podcast. Thank you, Lisa. Is from St. Clair.
Yes.
So, and I read it last night. It takes about 30 seconds to read it.
Good.
So, it should be really beautiful to give us some consistency. Some other things you'll see from the podcast are like word of the day, right?
Prophetic word of the day.
Yeah, and every or maybe a word of knowledge. Who knows?
Word of knowledge.
Yes,
okay.
for the whole world,
okay.
And then a title for each. Kind of a title takeaway, and then reflection and story.
Yeah, good.
So it'll be concise, it'll be brief, but hopefully
fruitful nonetheless.
Yeah, powerful and fruitful.
Yeah.
So I'm Deacon Dave.
I'm Layperson Lisa.
Welcome to the Deacon Dave and Layperson Lisa show. All right, we are on, Lisa, to Psalm 95. We are crushing it. Come, let us sing joyfully to the Lord. Cry out to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before him with a song of praise, joyfully sing out our psalms. For the Lord is the great God, the great King over all gods, whose hand holds the depths of the earth, who owns the tops of the mountains. The sea and dry land belong to God, who made them, formed them by hand. Enter, let us bow down in worship. Let us kneel before the Lord who made us, for he is our God. We are the people he shepherds the sheep in his hands. Oh, that today you would hear his voice. Do not harden your hearts as at Meribah, as on the day of Massah in the desert. There your ancestors tested me. They tried me, though they had seen my works. 40 years I loathed that generation. I said, the people's heart goes astray. They do not know my ways. Therefore I swore in my anger, they shall never enter my rest. So, Lisa, what are you thinking about this one?
Well, it wasn't necessarily a word that struck me, but that formed them by hand.
Okay.
Because I just get the imagery of God as the potter.
Right.
And how and then a few lines later it says, the Lord who made us. So it just talks about how he is the great creator. And we are made in his image.
That's funny because I was thinking along similar lines, Lisa, that, God created everything. He created us. And I think one of the struggles that I commonly see in talking to people is maybe they have a child who has fallen away from the church, or there are so many situations where we want to control the outcome of something and we just don't have control. At the end of the day, God has given each one of us freedom.
Yeah.
Right. He has created us with that freedom. He has given us the choice to love him. Mm-hmm. Right. And as much as we may not like it sometimes, we have to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
And we have to be at peace with that. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't do our part. Right. But I think a lot of times it's easy to overdo it because most people, if you're trying to tell them something, they already know you're trying to tell them the second they see you walk in the room. So your voice is already being heard. But I think one of the fundamental questions that I often ask people is I go, does that person know you love them? And then it gets really quiet. Because so often we're so consumed with wishing someone that we loved was doing something different that we forget to love them.
Yeah.
And it's like a showstopper.
Yeah.
And then I just redirect and I go, listen, God created them. God's given them freedom just like he's given us freedom, right, to choose.
Yeah.
And if we look back on maybe how we were making choices earlier in our life, maybe we didn't do such a good job either.
Right.
And so let's keep it in perspective. Let's give them their freedom and then let's just love them because that's what God does to us.
Right.
He just loves us. In spite of our choices, he continues to love us.
Right.
Darn, it's hard to do that with other people, isn't it? Any thoughts on that?
No, but that's interesting. Well, I guess I probably got it. I'm sure. Well, I know I got it from you. So I had a conversation not too long ago with somebody who, it wasn't her, but it was somebody that was talking to her who had a situation like that. And she didn't know how to respond to the other person. And so I told them that, God gives us free will. And we have to give the people that we love that same free will and not try to control what they do, and just let the love shine forth more so than the desire that the person may have for their child to do something different. So.
Yeah, and it's really hard, and it can be. And I think in a lot of these cases too, it's really looking in the mirror and going, okay, God, well, what are you calling me to do in this situation?
Yeah,
and He's calling us to love,
right?
And it can be tough sometimes. Like we were just talking about my mom today, right?
Yeah.
And the things that are going on with my family, it is very, very hard to swallow.
Yeah.
But I'm at peace with it.
Yeah.
So it still hurts every now and again, but I'm not like upset about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Deacon Dave.
I'm Layperson Lisa.
See you next time.
Bye.